The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSRTV, your home for sim racing. Live tonight from the Homestead Miami Speedway, LSRTV is with you to say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to race 30 of 30 on the 2018 United Sim Racing BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series campaign. We're from Homestead, Florida. We go championship round racing in the USR playoffs as we welcome you into tonight's BNC and USR Crown a Champion 200. As always, happy that you're spending a Saturday night with us. Just wrapped up our coverage of the Outlaw Modifieds a little bit ago. Big congratulations, J.R. Shepard, for getting the win in that one as we get close to championship season in the 9 o'clock hour. But as we roll into 10 o'clock at the East Coast, happy that you're with us for the second part of our LSR-TV Saturday night doubleheader. Myself, Evan Pasoko, Kyle Barnes upstairs with you, with our producer Cisco Scardabusa downstairs, twisting and tweaking the dials, bringing us to you this evening. And Kyle, we come into this race at Homestead Miami racetrack that has, in the last 10 or so years, really become synonymous with championship racing. And just as you would see that as trucks do it, the USR BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series will crown a champion here tonight as we enter the last round of this playoff. 3 drivers remain, and it'll be a head-to-head winner-take-all battle tonight after 200 miles.
Absolutely. Those 3 drivers, Christian Peterson, Bobby Terrell, Jamie Walker, this is where history is made or hearts are broken here at Homestead, Miami, Florida. This track has become synonymous with championship battles throughout the years, both in NASCAR in real life and here on the sim on the iRacing side. Multiple leagues use this as their crowning race to decide a champion, and I don't feel like there's any more of a fitting track to come to than Homestead, Miami. The race is going to be exciting. It looks like we're going to have 16 trucks come to the grid once we finish up with qualifying here momentarily, but it's going to be quite the race. Right now, currently in qualifying, we got Christian Peterson sitting on the provisional pole, and Gillen Waters second. Bobby Terrell is third. Meanwhile, Jamie Walker, your third driver that's running in for the championship tonight, had a bad qualifying start, and he's provisionally set up in 11th right now.
And for the drivers who have yet to do their 1 lap of qualifying, they're going to have about 2 minutes or so to wrap all of that up. But a lot of those names have been battling for this championship throughout the playoffs. But the round of 12 saw Rich Jetty, Aaron Bennett, and Matt Mara get eliminated. Tim Matthews, Michael Atkins Jr., Justin Michael, they got knocked out in the round of 9. And then a couple of weeks ago, in fact, last time out, Seth the Merchant, Scott Formosa, and Scott Simley unable to make the jump into those final couple of positions, which is how we get Terrell, Peterson, and Walker as your 3 drivers battling for the championship here tonight. And there's nothing weird to explain if you're familiar with this elimination style playoff and the winner take all style that has been adapted here at Homestead in the last couple of years. On the real world side of things with NASCAR and Kyle that's transitioned over to the sim side of things, bonus points don't matter, laps led don't matter. You look at those 3 names, you have to beat the other 2, you're the champion. Just as easy as that, no pressure. It all comes down to 1 race.
Absolutely. This makes it so much simpler for the average viewer, average fan. You have 3 drivers. You have Christian Peterson, Bobby Terrell, Jamie Walker. Those are the drivers in the championship hunt. Everybody else tonight is just running to get that trophy at the end of the night. But those 3, those are the guys we're going to have to watch all night long. See where each one of them goes into pit road, maybe takes tires, maybe one doesn't. Is fuel strategy going to come into play? There's just so many factors. Meanwhile, they have all these other drivers, 13 others to be in fact, that are going to be racing around them that don't care. They're simply out there to go out and win. They have nothing to lose, nothing to gain other than that trophy at the end of the night. And it's going to be interesting to see if any of those come into play later on in the race.
And it is a tale of different tapes. You look at Christian Peterson and Jamie Walker into tonight. Together, those drivers have amassed 14 wins of the 29 races that have been run this season. If one of them wins tonight, they would get 50% of the checkered flags on the year. 8 for Peterson, 6 for Walker. They all have more than 20 top 10 finishes. But Kyle Bobby Terrell without a win. What a story it would be if he could find victory lane tonight for the first time this year to lock it up.
That would be the story of the sleeping giant. Run all season long, be consistent, be there at the end, and then come out on top last night at Homestead, Miami. I can't think of a better storybook ending.
The qualifying session has drawn to a close, and the trucks are headed trackside. So let's join them down on the pit lane. Let's take a look at tonight's LSRTV starting grid from Homestead, Miami. Christian Peterson is going to be able to hang on to pole position as he looks for his 9th win of the year. Winning your championship 3 brings us to the green flag tonight. His 32.647, good enough to get him the #1 position. Bob Gillenwater going to also be up there on the front row. He'll start in the #2 position. Bobby Terrell back there on row 2 inside in the 3rd spot. Dwayne Dunn outside in 4th, and then Aaron Bennett P5.
Greg Mall rolls off in 6th place position. Scott Formosa 7th. Scott Simley in 8th. Randy Tessar in 9th, and then James Dunn is going to round out your top 10.
We also mentioned this one. Jamie Walker is going to have a little bit of ground to make up. The 3rd driver in our championship 3, 11th position, 2nd slowest time in the qualifying session. So he'll be on the inside of row 6, accompanied by John Jenkins, who will start in 12th. Then you look back to the unlucky #13 starting position. I'll blame that for the fact that his last name's not going to be showing up on the ticker over the course of the race. It's Bob Valentine starting 13th position. Chris Cabot going to be alongside in 14th spot with Steve Herring in 15th, and John Wilco in 16th position as the field now rolls off at 1 and 2. That is a look at your LSRTV starting grid. So we take the opportunity, Kyle, talk about this Homestead Miami Speedway, 1.5 mile racetrack in length, but it is actually an oval. No tri-oval, no quad-oval, straight shot from where you see the cars now to the back straightaway from 2 to 3 and off of 4 down to turn #1. Makes this racetrack very unique and a fun place to have a championship race at. You can make it work almost anywhere on track, and as we go racing for 134 laps, 201 miles, it should definitely be a good show.
Absolutely. These guys are going to go from top to bottom, bottom to top. We're going to see them all over the track as these guys try and get to the front, lead some laps, and get the victory at the end.
Pace car going to be in this time. As always, we're happy that you're spending a Saturday night with us at LSRTV and iRacing Live. Pace car going to make the sharp left-hand turn down the pit lane, and Christian Peterson going to take the first step towards a 2018 USR Truck Series Championship. Green flag in the air from Homestead. We're racing, and BNC and USR crown a champion 200, and Peterson clear from the point to turn 1. Bob Gillenwater up top stays second, but watch out for the 14 of Terrell on the inside. The Muscle Milk Chevrolet trying to make it a fight for P2.
Absolutely, the 14 of Terrell's looking to the inside, but he's going to have a challenge on the outside by Dwayne Dunn in that number 39 truck, and then Aaron Bennett's going to be on his rear bumper coming off of turn 4. Maybe give him a little bit of a push going down the front straightaway.
That's something that you're definitely going to see out of these trucks as they work on getting them up to speed. Peterson going to lead at lap #1. Terrell was unable to win that battle out for second, so no changes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 at the start-finish line. With that 39 of Dunn still in front of Bennett, although that 3 Chevrolet on the inside, Cabela colors on the BNC Chevrolet. He is trying to make a pass down low. 39 again had it at the line last time, but as Bennett works on the inside, the 39 looked like he pushed up a lot there, center off, and it'd be the first change for position top 5 as Aaron Bennett slides into P4.
Yeah, Aaron's going to slide right there into P4, and it looks like Dunn's going to lose a little bit of momentum coming off turn 4, and this is going to open the door for Sibley as he looks to the inside of Dunn. He's going to take the inside lane, and it looks like he's going to complete the pass off of turn 2, and Greg Mall is going to follow him through for 6th position as well. Meanwhile, it looks like we have a battle between the 80 of Scott Formosa, and there's Jamie Walker trying to come up through the field and get to the front.
Walker, somebody else who no doubt is in a very good position to win a championship. If you look back a couple of years, 2015, USR BNC Lotto Landscaping Truck Series champion Simley, who right now runs in the number 5 position in that 68 Toyota. He has won the last 2 consecutive series titles in 2016 and 2017. He is not in a position to fight for another one today. He just missed the cut in the round of 6, eliminated after the race just 1 week ago from the Phoenix International Raceway. So you have 2 possibilities. If somebody like a Peterson or somebody as well like a Bobby Terrell could get a first championship, or if Jamie Walker can get back to the top of the mountain. And it is not a huge car count, Kyle, that's going to be working against him. Again, all the drivers, or a majority of the drivers who have been eliminated, maybe didn't even qualify into the playoffs, not here for the final race. Again, only 3 drivers really still racing for the points. So 11th position puts you a lot further back in the grand scope of things on a 16-car field than what it would say if you had 30. If it was 30 cars, 11th wouldn't be all that bad. So he is going to have to take his time working through the pack. He's already got a couple of spots up in 7th, and he's not all that far off of a big train of cars in front of him as he looks for some more.
But let's be honest here. If I'm one of the top 3 drivers, Christian Peterson, Bobby Terrell, Jamie Walker, I like the fact that we're coming into the season finale and we only have 16 trucks, at least from their viewpoint. That's less of a chance for somebody not in the championship points battle to take them out of the race, whether it be by accident or maybe a little bit of anger in the middle of the feature. This is just less of a uncommon denominator that maybe they would have to deal with if we had a 30 or 35 truck field. So if I'm one of these guys, I'm happy. This is less of a chance for me to wreck out, and it allows me to prove myself on the racetrack and not have to worry about others as much.
And that's the thing that I think definitely those championship guys specifically as well will enjoy. The fact that as we see a lot of 2 odd right now, I'm going to fight for 3rd position. Actually going to be for 2nd. It's Terrell from 3rd, who's trying to get around Bob Gillenwater, and the 3-car of Bennett gives him a little bit of a nudge, and I think that might do it. Terrell's going to have to get back into the gas off for the quarter, but he does. So move the 14 Chevrolet up to 2nd. Bobby Terrell going to get into that spot, but you know, for those championship 3, you're fighting for a title. Everybody else at a racetrack, you're only seeing, unless it's a teammate, as somebody just getting in your way. So it's great news for those championship 3 tonight, Peterson, Terrell, and Walker, that there's less cars to get in front of them. But look at this battle now, 2 sets of 2x2, 3rd on back, as and 3 Michigan Bennett tries to get by the 4, and that 12 of Greg Mall getting up on the 2-time defending series champion Scott Simley, who may not have a shot at the title, wants to get a win and make a statement here tonight.
Yeah, Bennett helped Terrell complete that pass going down the backstretch that last lap, but it looks like he may have hurt himself. He's stuck down on that bottom lane, and it doesn't look like that's the place he wants to be, as he's going to try and do a slide job here on Gillenwater going through turns 1 and 2, and it looks like he will complete it off turn 4, or excuse me, turn 2, and now this opens the door for Scott Simley as Gillenwater gets loose on the high side.
A little bit loose up on the outside of the racetrack, and you see the 68 machine there side by side with him as well. Not the best lane for Simley, really tight. It moves up the racetrack. Both of those cars got to get out of the gas, and here comes Greg Ball 3 wide down the front straightaway. Walker's got a fantastic view of this one as everybody wants to fight for P4. Look how tight they are, still in 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's everything but exciting for somebody like Walker, who needs to get to the front of the field without any collisions with anybody else. You can't have any damage right here and then have to fight that the rest of the race, but they do get double file. Simley gets the outside here as Greg Mall continues his battle on the inside. Meanwhile, we have Jamie Walker and Bob Gillenwater that are fighting for 6th position, as Walker looks like he tried to move up in front of Gillenwater but couldn't make it happen off turn 4.
Can't make it happen off before. You definitely see these trucks floating around a little bit on quarter exits. So Simley had the better positioning, and Greg Mall is going to go from away on the inside of a 3-wide battle to all the way up the hill. And he's going to lose a little bit of time. You would think top side of the racetrack with the bank in at Homestead, you get a great run down the straightaways, but I don't think the 12 was really up there by design. Just missed it on entry. He's going to be able to recover, no worries, but Jamie Walker in the 88 machine gets another spot, and he will clear the 12 up off of the quarter. And Jamie Walker is continuing that charge to the front of the field. Started 11th. Well, he's already halfway to the end goal, P5. That's still, though, 3rd at all the way at the back of those championship 3.
But if I'm Walker, I don't care. I'm halfway to my goal, which is the lead of the race. You know, I've avoided a couple possible incidents there coming up through the field as we see Scott Formosa duck back in line in P7. But, you know, he's ran a good race so far. He's used his head, didn't make a 4-wide situation that he definitely could have there a few laps ago. And it looks like he's going to try and make his charge all the way up to 3rd place and catch up to Terrell and Peterson up here running 1-2.
They have done a good job of getting just a little bit of distance on everybody else. Peterson not really checking out like I'm sure maybe he would prefer, and you know that could be a decision by design. We always talk about Christian Peterson, doesn't matter what kind of race car he's in, always good at pacing the number 23 machine and, you know, not running out and forcing yourself to go out to a 3-second lead and burning up all the equipment if a 0.5 of a second lead will suffice. So he still sits at that 0.5 second advantage at the moment. Gained a tad bit there on Terrell, who's second. Aaron Bennett third. Scott Simley fourth, and Jamie Walker are your top 5 at the moment. Everybody on the lead lap with the exception of Chris Cabot in the number 5 Chevrolet. That car is 2 laps down and in 16th position, and I believe it is because the 5 machine might have missed the grid in this one. Not seeing any damage that would have forced that truck down to pit lane. Other than that, everybody's still on track. The Knights Young working lap 14 of 134, and something tells me we've got a battle for second on our hands. Here comes Aaron Bennett closing in on the 14.
Yeah, Bennett's made quite a run on the high side in each and every corner. He's keeping it wound up top just like the Cup cars did earlier tonight in the All-Star race at Charlotte. Bennett's going to look and try and get the momentum here, maybe dive to the inside or try and stick his outside. Stick his nose into the outside there, maybe try and get a run around him on the top end. Who knows? But Bennett's definitely there, definitely challenging for it, and should be interesting to see when he makes his move.
And we'll see if he is able to, you know, put himself into a position to set up and to make a move, or if it's really just a case of once you get up to the back bumper of that number 14 machine, just go for it, not make it pretty, and at least just try to apply some sort of pressure. You can see Bennett mixing it up a little bit. He wants to go up the hill, changes his line. This should give him a good run at a 2, and down the back straightaway. He'll get to the back bumper, and he'll send a message. Gives him a nice shot on the rear end there, and Terrell will stay in front, but he definitely knows Aaron Bennett's right there now. Quite literally knocking on the door if he didn't already notice.
Meanwhile, while we're watching the battle for second, Jamie Walker has had one heck of a battle between Greg Mall and himself. Walker tried to move down the track on the front stretch last lap to block Mall, and Mall just faked him out, went around him on the high side like he was sitting still, and now that opened the door for Scott Formosa. Looks like Jamie Walker may have burned his stuff up as he gets a little bit loose off of turn 2. Goodness, looks like Walker's having a little bit hard time with his tires right now.
He may be struggling a little bit, and that might be a product of really driving through the field aggressively, getting up to the top 5 position. That's why I mentioned, you know, not seeing a lot of separation up front, maybe because those drivers don't want to push it too much. That 88 machine was really wiggling that time on the inside of the racetrack. He'll lose his spot. Not only did the driver he had lost the spot to the lap prior, but just now passing him as well. Scott Formosa going to go on by, and Bob Gillenwater. So the next driver, as the 4 cars lines up, and well, it's not deteriorating or deterring Walker from being aggressive at all. Kyle goes for the crossover right back to the inside, and it will go side by side again. So he's obviously not concerned about him at all as he looks to take back that spot, fighting for 7th. Really sideways again, though. He catches it, but he'll lose the spot.
Yeah, he has got to watch what he's doing here off of turn 4. Every single time he tries to get down to the inside of somebody, he is sliding those tires all the way through the exit of the corner and just barely catching it up off. Every single time he does that, it is killing his momentum. As it looks like we have a little bit of a shakeup up front, as it looks like maybe a lap car of Gabot maybe gets to the outside of Peterson and now into the wall.
Oh, that's the 5 car that we were talking about, 2 laps down, and again, I had speculated maybe he had missed the start of this race because that car didn't have any obvious damage, but at that pace, again, now he's fallen 3 laps down and appears to be quite significantly off the pace. Did put a time down in the practice session. He was, looked like scored second to last at a practice earlier tonight, and is currently struggling, and Christian Peterson in the 23 machine lost a ton of time with a 5 truck in the mix, and I don't think it was really the 5's doing. Peterson got real loose coming off of turn number 2, closed in the gap. Maybe he had some wandering eyes and was a little bit uncertain about what that car was going to do around him, and just that lapse in concentration maybe might have what done him in. But you can kiss that half a second advantage goodbye. We are now in a 3-way battle for the race lead because Terrell's right up on Peterson, and Bennett behind him still nowhere close to giving up on fighting for that spot either.
Absolutely not. Bennett has been all over the back bumper of Terrell here in the early going of this race, and just applying pressure lap after lap, corner after corner. You can tell Bennett wants to get to the front, lead some laps. He's not running for the championship. The only thing he's coming for tonight is a win. That's the only thing that's going to give him any sort of joy at the end of the night, because second place is just the first loser in his mind and in his race tonight as we keep going through. You see Bennett use the high side as well as Peterson, but Terrell, he's going to stay down there on that low end, and it just goes to show how many different lines these drivers can use as we go through the race.
And it's only going to, change more and more as we do go through this race, because 22 laps in on some of the wider shots, you can see the rubber getting put down on this racetrack. The asphalt surface here at Homestead very much faded, and it's that light gray color. So when you get that dark black rubber put down, very obvious where that line is. And obviously this racetrack lends itself to multi-groove racing to begin with, but as that groove starts to spread out more and more, I think that outside line going to be even better of an option later on in this race. So far, though, still green. 23 laps through at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Christian Peterson has led every single lap and appears to maybe have weathered a charge from Terrell and Bennett after making a self-inflicted mistake. My concern really with Peterson there, Kyle, was not the mistake in and of itself, as he gets really close to the wall that time and has to roll out of the throttle, loses a couple of tenths. My concern wasn't necessarily that Peterson got loose and that those guys caught up to him. My concern was that mistake was really going to eat away at those tires, and if you get them heated up, you have like a 3-4 lap period of time or a window where that truck just does not want to stay underneath you. And I thought maybe that's where Terrell and Bennett would jump on him, but it appears he's regained his composure, got those tire temperatures back down, and is maintaining up front. You just have to watch those mistakes. Again, he had a little bit of a mistake that last time on a 4, this time a little bit better, but every time that 23 wiggles, the 14 and the 3 are there to answer, and they've closed right back in.
Yeah, and I don't think he's out of the woods yet. If you watch him coming off of the corners, I mean, he's still getting quite a bit loose, quite a bit sideways as we come off both turn 2 and turn 4. You can see it wiggling just a little bit. Meanwhile, Terrell behind him, running around smooth as can be on the inside lane, saving his stuff. And then, of course, you have Bennett sitting there in third, lurking, just waiting for one of these two to make a mistake so he can pounce. But I don't know. I think, maybe Terrell could get around and make an easy pass for the lead here, but maybe he's just letting Peterson burn up his stuff and playing a little bit of mind games with him here early on.
Would not be the first time that these drivers have messed with each other per se on the racetrack. They're not only racing with each other week in and week out here on Saturdays in the United Sim Racing, BNC Lawnmower Landscaping Truck Series, many other disciplines of racing, short track racing, truck racing, pretty much everything else in between. Bennett and Terrell, the drivers who have been with this USR group for quite some time, and Christian Peterson maybe a little bit of an adjustment period, seeing some of these new faces as he came into this series. Obviously has done very well. As I noted, 8 wins on the year, is second most out of drivers on the season. Only Seth DeMerchant has more race wins. He netted 9 before he was also eliminated from the playoffs in the round of 8, did not qualify into this championship 3. So Peterson would, I'm sure, like to tie his buddy Seth DeMerchant with 9 wins. If he, of course, did that, he would win the championship as well. But he's got a lot on his plate right now because Bobby Terrell running about a half to a full length of a car down lower on the racetrack in the quarters, really hooking up better off. And for the first time tonight since we took the green flag, the battle for the race lead is within a car length.
Yeah, it's definitely heating up front. And while we're watching the front battle, there was a battle there for 4th and 5th. Craig Ball, the last lap going down into turn 1, absolutely sent it and done a slide job, beautiful slide job, I should say, on Scott Simley. Was able to complete the pass, and now Ball's going to try and reel in that top 3. As we see, the top 3 are Peterson, Terrell, and Bennett continue to pull away. But meanwhile, Peterson gets extremely loose off of turn 4. Terrell has to back out of it a little bit to stay off of it, but now Terrell's going to move to the inside to try and complete the pass going into turn 1.
Well, turn 4 has been a place that Peterson's been struggling, and Terrell saw that mistake again. The 14 machine has been very disciplined, and we are side by side for the race lead from Homestead, Miami. Does Aaron Bennett jump into the mix? Does he maybe force a 3 wide, or does he watch the side by side, hope that these guys tear each other up a little bit? And we work at lap number 29, 134. Long way to go. This race looks like it definitely has a green flag look to it. Could go green for a good distance, if not all the way. So there's going to be a lot that goes down between now and the end that'll determine the race winner. So how much do you want to put into this? If you're Peterson and that car's struggling with grip off for the quarter, is it worth fighting with Terrell, eating away a little bit more, or do you let him go? So far it appears to be answer A, because he is going at it, and with a great run at it, turn number 2, so close to the outside wall. Peterson defends.
Yeah, he clipped the wall a little bit there coming out of 2. Got a little bit loose, but was able to make it stick and got back around Terrell as they came off of turn 2 down the backstretch. Now Terrell, a few car lengths back, has Bennett breathing down his neck, and Bennett looks like he's just going to stay behind, maybe ride it out here until we get to our first round of pit stops.
And that could be closer than you might think. 31 laps into this, definitely past the halfway point in this run. Peterson appears to have been able to, though, flip the switch, get that little bit extra, but he needed it the most. There's another run by Aaron Bennett. Bennett, I think, is the most conservative out of these top 3 right now, because a couple of times he's gotten a very good run on Bobby Terrell, and as opposed to going to the inside, force it side by side, he's just given him that little bit of a square shot, punched him right in the back end, and given Terrell that little bit of a hello, per se. And well, that 14 machine has so far looked relatively uninterested with the 3 of Bennett. I don't think he's really carried where the 3 is. He's not mirror driving at all. Terrell dead locked in on battling for the race win here. And every time Peterson gets a couple of car lengths away, he gets a little bit too tight off of the corner. There's the move to pit road we were talking about at the 23 car. Down to the access road. That's one of the unique features about this Homestead Miami Speedway. He's going to get all the way around that flat, very loose surface. Look at the 23 sideways on pit road. It's a very aggressive entry for Peterson as he gives up the race lead for the first time tonight. Bobby Terrell to the point.
It was aggressive, but I do believe it worked. As we see Peterson heading down pit road, he's going to try and get into a small stall very smoothly. Doesn't want to slide into the pit stall. Doesn't want to, burn any tires, or excuse me, lock up any tires. Looks like it's going to be a pretty clean stop as we see the pit crew come out and assist Peterson. Is going to go ahead and take right side tires, and I would say this has got to be a 4-tire stop for Peterson. You're short pitting here pretty much. I mean, you're probably going to make 3 pit stops out of this, I would say. You're probably going to have to extend one of your runs, though. Trying to do the math here real quick in front of me. I don't really see the play. I feel like he may have handicapped himself later on.
Well, we'll see if his idea is, hey, Terrell and Bennett are going to fight. I just want to get out of here. But that 3 machine of Aaron Bennett going to be coming down to the pit lane this time by, so he will let Terrell go. The 3 made a big mistake down in turn 2, so I think he's going to lose more time than you might suspect. But I think you're right on that fuel number. Peterson coming in just past lap 30. If you can make about an even number, you'll get somewhere in the ballpark of lap 65. A similar run would get you close to lap number 95, maybe. And, of course, you got to get to 134, so the idea may be a 3-stop strategy, but you need, I would say, 35 laps per run if you are going to be able to get there 3 stops without yellows. Bobby Terrell took over the race lead. The 14 machine has also come down pit road. Aaron Bennett in, so it looks like the 69 car of Randy Tassar is going to become our race leader. Car started in 9th position, maybe cycling through to the point. Looks like most everybody wanting to come down and get that service taken care of. Aaron Bennett, though, in the number 3 Chevrolet in the pit box. He went with a 4-tire call. Bobby Terrell in the 14, already in and out of pit road. Very good call for him. Everybody going forward.
Yeah, we see Terrell come off pit road, but look at Peterson. He is already half a straightaway ahead just by simply going in 1-2 laps sooner. That's how much tires matter at a place like Homestead. Now, of course, Peterson is going to have 1 or 2 more laps on his tires versus Terrell or Bennett, but that's how much time he was able to gain, and that's time that pretty much forced Terrell and Bennett to come pound pit road when they did, as well as everybody else on Speedway. You just can't sacrifice that much time on the racing surface and just hang it out to dry. If the first person comes in, it's pretty much going to send everybody else down pit road too.
If we take a look at the lap times, fastest lap time for Christian Peterson in this race was at lap 3. It was a 33.0. Right before he came down pit road, a 34.6. So in a relatively shorter run, 30 laps tends to be on the shorter end of things as far as, strategies that you'll see. He fell off 1.6 seconds. So you wait 2 laps, that's over 3 seconds of difference. Right now, Peterson has a 2-second advantage on Terrell. Now, Terrell's tire is going to be a tad bit fresher, but I think Peterson, assuming again that when he came in is a good fuel number to be able to do this race with 3 trips down to the pit lane, 1 out of the way and 2 still to go if we stay green. Assuming that's the case, I like the call by Peterson. We'll have to see if it works out. That 80 machine of Scott Formosa seems to be the outlier in this. Everybody else flocked to the pit road. The 80 car still not interested. That truck leading this race now, lap 38.
And the only thing I can think maybe Scott Formosa is doing, and I'm not sure whether you could stretch it out this far, I've not looked at the pit window, but maybe trying to go 2 stops. I mean, that's a pretty long stretch here at somewhere like Homestead, especially with the tire fall off. I mean, you would really not only have to stretch out your fuel, but you're going to have to save rubber enough to last you a full 45 lap run, or 40 or 45 lap run, however many laps you're going to try and push it. So, man, I'm not sure about this call, but as we can see, Peterson and Terrell, they're already on the same straightaway as him. He's now just a sitting duck, and when he comes in to take a pit stop, I mean, he's going to be maybe a full lap down.
And the only way that you could counteract this is if you're going to go with a completely different pit strategy. It does seem clear as Scott Formosa gets into the outside wall. That does not help things at all either. Damage and costing him time. The only reason, Kyle, I think you stay out this much longer than everybody else is if you're going on a different pit strategy. So if you need about 35 laps per run to do a 3-stop, how long do you need to go to make this a 2-stopper? Well, if you're right now, you're at lap 40. If you can go to lap 45 on a run, 45 laps per run, you could get to the end of this race with just 2 trips down at the pit lane. So I think he's either going for that or he's not really thinking. We'll see.
I'm not really sure, Evan. I don't really know what to say. That would be my only guess. That has got to be the only thing Scott Formosa is hoping for right now, is for this race to go entirely green the whole way and have 1 less pit stop to make, which we know that these access roads add a lot of time on pit road. It's a long pit road to get down. If you're taking 4 tires each time you come in for the 3-stop strategy, it may work out, but he's going to have a long haul ahead to really see any sort of results from this type of strategy. As we see Peterson, he's already closed in about 2 seconds in the past 3 or 4 laps. So Peterson's coming. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
And he's at the point now where you're much closer to getting to that lap 45 number than you are at the lap 35 number. So maybe Formosa is going to go all in on this. Christian Peterson is going to become your race leader before he does come down pit road, I think. Maybe Peterson passing him is going to be the signal to come down pit road. But again, no way that Formosa's in a position. After starting 7th, again, this isn't somebody that was way at the back of the pack. Scott Formosa has had a great truck so far tonight, top 10 truck, in fact. Peterson not wanting to force the issue there, thought about going low, stayed back in line, and well, you can see that this is hurting Peterson, so he'll say, all right, let's get this done. He'll go to the inside, and it'll be side by side for the race lead. Don't bite your nails. Peterson leading that one at the line, and he'll be able to clear down into 1 and 2. Terrell's only 1.3 seconds off of him now, though, so the 2-second cushion he had starting to slowly chip away.
Yeah, getting into the back, or almost into the back of Scott Formosa, definitely killed momentum there for Peterson and allowed Terrell to really gain a whole lot of time there off turn 4, that lap alone. But if we look back through our top 5 here, or I guess our top 5 once Formosa comes down into the pit, you have Peterson running 1st, Terrell running 2nd, Sindley running 3rd, Walker has now moved to the provisional 4th place once Formosa pits, and then Bennett had a rough going in pit road, and he's going to be 5th once Formosa comes off into the pit lane here in just a few laps.
And we're waiting on Formosa to make that call. At 40-40, almost wrecked it again. So everybody's struggling on corner exit here with these loose conditions. It is definitely something that is quite synonymous with the Homestead of Miami Speedway. Is again, there's so many different lines, and you can mix it up if you wish. but you have to know what you're doing. You can't just go in there and you know, try to get a little bit too creative. So he's at the lap 45 number. So if I'm Scott Formosa, I'm coming down pit road now. You're not in all that bad of a spot. Bobby Terrell, third place truck, going to become second here shortly, is just now catching up to you. You're only about a second off for Christian Peterson. If it's your call, I'd say you'd be coming in this time. Look for the 80 machine. Is he going to head to the access road? No. So he's really committing. Maybe he wants a little bit of extra insurance here early.
I'm not sure, Evan. I really don't know. I mean, if you're going to make it a two-stop strategy, I would think you would want to split your segments up as evenly as you can. The longer you go now, really knowing that you're going to have to pit at some point soon anyways, I just don't see a benefit from it, really. I feel like he's kind of hurting himself at this point. He really needs to get down that pit lane and get some fresh tires and fill that thing up with fuel to make it to the end. The only thing I can think maybe he's doing is really stretching it out to a one stop, but I think that's impossible if I'm not mistaken.
14 trucks still scored on the lead lap. Bob Gillenwater is 2 laps down now. Chris Cabot in the number 5 machine still does 3 laps down. In fact, he is now just coming down pit road as he works on lap number 43 to get into pit road. And, well, Scott Formosa, almost another close call for him. Got really loose at a turn 4, lost a ton of speed. And I think that you got to come down pit road. The idea is if you're going to go on a short pit strategy and take less pit stops, the big risk, Kyle, is that you're going to be down a lap. And that's the first thing you mentioned when we talked about him being up front, is he might go all the way a lap down. Well, the way to get back into the game is to be a lap down for as little as possible. Yes, this race looks like it could go green, but the further back you are a lap down, the more likelihood you're going to be off of the lead lap, but a yellow comes out, and at that point you can torch your whole strategy. You're going to be off of the lead lap, and you're going to be completely at the back of the pack. If you go 45 to 90 to 135, you can get to this race end with 2 pit stops at 45 laps apiece, so I couldn't tell you what these extra laps are for.
Okay, well, let's get out our clipboards, our whiteboards, whatever you want to call it. Let's get out our calculators. Scott Formosa has stayed on this racetrack for close to 50 laps now. Your leaders just recently pitted on lap 33. So, some quick math here tells me that these leaders may be able to still do a two-stop strategy if they really wanted to. I mean, if Scott can stretch it out 50 laps, there's nothing keeping these guys up front from stretching it out 50 laps as well and only doing one more pit stop the rest of the way. I don't know. It's crazy to me that Formosa's still out there, but if I'm Christian Peterson, if I'm Terrell, if I'm Walker, I'm looking at this and I'm saying I can make it on one more stop.
And maybe you mix it up and you do go for that strategy instead of just going the straight 45 or 50 laps, however many it is, at once. You kind of take that short pitch strategy early, and even vice versa could have worked out for the driver staying out in Formosa. He could decide to go for the long run here and then short pit and go only that 30-35 lap later on in his race. It all is going to come down to if the tires are what's worth it the most. And at lap number 50, Scott Formosa is now down pit road. He ended up falling all the way back to 7th position, which is where he was when he started this race, but he's going to be about 6 seconds behind Peterson on track by the time he comes in. Nice conservative entry, doesn't risk anything, doesn't lock it up, and he's easily on pit road. The call is going to be 4 tires. No doubt, though, he's going to lose lead lap status. Yeah, absolutely. He's going to go a lap down here on pit road, but going back to our leaders, Scott Formosa, you know he just ran 50 laps, green flag, 1 tank of fuel. Our leader, Christian Peterson, right now, pitted on the completion of lap 33, or coming to the completion of lap 32, I should say, excuse me. He came down pit road then. That's only 51 laps if he splits it up 2 more times, or splits it up into a one-stop strategy. Meanwhile, somebody like Terrell or Bennett or any of these guys who pitted a couple laps later, they're good. They're in the golden range right now. Regardless, they know they can make it because Formosa made it. So I tell you what, Formosa may have just opened a whole lot of eyes to these guys up front, and maybe they're going to go back to the drawing board and rethink their strategy, because from what I've seen, pitting in lap 32, 33, 34, I would think you're going for 3 pit stops and not 2. We'll see if that is going to be the case, but now 3 drivers are off for the lead lap, but we're almost halfway through this race for the Homestead Miami Speedway. So far, caution-free in the BNC and USR Crown of Champion 200. Almost halfway, so we'll take a quick opportunity to step aside. We'll keep things locked LSRTV non-stop, so you don't miss a moment of the action. But Christian Peterson out in front looking for win number 9. He's leading this race, and he's leading in the race to the championship so far. Lap 53 of the works from Homestead. You're watching LSRTV's coverage of the USR BNC Lauded Landscaping Truck Series on your home for sim racing and iRacing Live. A second round of pit stops not too far away. And back live for the Homestead Miami Speedway, LSRTV's coverage of the United Sim Racing BNC Lauded Landscaping Truck Series continuing tonight from the Homestead Miami Speedway. It's round 30 of the year, and it is championship night with the BNC and USR Crown of Champion 200. After that, you're with us at LSRTV and iRacing Live. Christian Peterson along with Bobby Terrell, Jamie Walker, your 3 drivers battling it out for the winner-take-all title. Peterson, your race leader, currently leading in that championship picture. Just to update everybody on what everybody else is as we welcome you back into the booth. Evan Pasoko, Kyle Barnes upstairs with Cisco Scaramuza twisting the dials downstairs. Bobby Terrell right now second on track. That puts him second in the championship picture. And Jamie Walker, Kyle, down in P6. Not the highest he's been, but he did drop a little bit further down from P6 after it looked like that truck was starting to fall away towards the end of that last run. Now, the 88 machine, you're going to see the 80 car coming by. That's Scott Formosa a lap down. Do not be worried about the 80 Chevrolet as he comes on through. But right now, your championship 3, we're on 1, 2, and 6 on the racetrack. Still no yellows so far.
Yeah, I would say probably Jamie Walker's going to need a caution here to get back with this lead pack of guys. I mean, he's a straightaway back, so this is still definitely manageable, but it's going to be extremely hard if we don't get at least some sort of caution period here. As we see, Aaron Bennett is actually going to head down the pit lane at lap 60. We talked about this a little bit earlier. I think he's going with the 3-stop strategy as he goes ahead and hits pit road, trying to slow it down to 50 miles an hour. Maybe he got a speeding penalty there, not sure. He was 60 at the line. We'll have to go back and see if he's held in pit road any.
He was very aggressive the first time down pit road. It almost looked like that one was a little bit more of a tamed approach compared to his last time, but Walker does stay with that, number 35, and he will come down to the pit lane at lap number 60. Again, if he did 35 each time, you're going to have to find an extra 14 laps in there somewhere, so maybe look for him to get closer to 40 on his next run. Pearson, Terrell, though, still don't bite, and maybe for Walker kind of being stuck a bit of pack, he wants to mix it up this time and maybe find something that works. Last time he was at the deeper end of the spectrum on cars that pitted, so that was a very short run for the 88 as he does get in and out of the pit lane, and it was a nice and easy 4-tire stop. So maybe to counteract that, he'll mix it up, go short pit strategy, because I think he's got a feeling that, hey, I'm not going to win this from P6. In 6th position, you're already talking about being 10 seconds, Kyle, off of the race lead. If this race goes green, Walker's got no chance to win it from there unless he tries to mix it up a bit.
Yeah, he's going to have a really tough time unless he, you know, starts throwing darts at the board and hoping one of them sticks, which is exactly what this move right here has done. You've seen Bennett come down pit road. I'd say he probably just shot down to the inside to try and get on the same strategy as he was, because to be quite honest, Bennett's been one of the fastest trucks here all night. You know, earlier in the race, he was right on the bumper of Peterson and Terrell, just didn't make any moves, trying to stay out of the championship battle. But I would say later on in the race, that may be the man to beat, as we still have Peterson, Terrell, and Scott Simley all staying out on track and not really even looking or flirting with the entrance pit road at all.
And did not even take a peek, and it's very obvious when somebody's going to be coming down pit road here at Homestead, because again, you have those access roads on the inside of both 3 and 4 and in 1 and 2. Only other racetrack that you really see that at is at Indianapolis, so that you're not really required to use it on entry in NASCAR trucks on the entry to the pit lane down for those access roads in 3 and 4. So it's not really something that comes into effect. But Kyle, people could really make mistakes down there. It has to have been now 3-4 years ago, but there was a championship race, not in this series, but a championship race here at Homestead, I remember, where there was a lapped car on pit road, came out on that access road, and just got a little bit too tight. Again, it's flat down there. There is zero banking, so it's very easy for some of the drivers to maybe overestimate what you're going to be able to do. The cars like to slide around down there, and once you get 2 tires in the grass, left or right side, doesn't matter. That truck is gone. That car spun out, actually came up, took out the race leader and the championship leader. Now, nothing crazy like that has happened so far tonight, but that just goes to show you that there's plethora of opportunities to make a mistake with all that added access road down there that you normally don't have to deal with.
Absolutely, and like you said, you get your tires in the grass down there, whether you're the leader or the last place man 15 laps down, it doesn't matter. You're heading straight out onto the racing surface, and you know, if you're a guy on the racing surface and you see somebody diving down to the inside, you're probably looking over your shoulder a little bit, making sure that he's not going to come back up and make any contact with you. But now we see our leader, Christian Peterson, going down to the access road in turn 3, and behind him looks like Terrell's going to keep on track and go ahead and truck on by him.
And he's going to keep on going, so Peterson in. That kind of fits with his MO at about another just shy of the halfway point, in fact, in this race. That's going to be next time around, so it appears Peterson staying committed to that 3-stop strategy. And now that Bobby Terrell is your race leader, there's a lot going on up front, because Scott Simley, who was 3rd, now 2nd, only running about 0.6 of a second off. You see some of the lapped cars with fresher tires. John Wilco just actually got lapped, but that 3 machine of Aaron Bennett, who we mentioned was on pit road a little bit ago with a short pit this time from P6, he's easily able to go on by with those fresher tires. Wonder if Simley maybe has something. Nope, 68 cars in, so Simley down. Terrell staying out up front now halfway.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I think we have about, I want to say at least 3 or 4 different sets of strategies here. We have guys that are going 5 or 10 laps further than others. We got guys that are going and trying to make this a 1-stop race. We got guys that are trying to make it a 2-stop and then a short pit. I mean, it's wild. I don't really know how this is all going to shake out. I don't think anybody's going to even find out until we get around lap 100 and see where everybody stands at that point. But we see Peterson back out there on the track, but Bobby Terrell's running in first, and then you have Bob Valentine. He stayed on track, and he's going to be in second, or scored second right here. And then Scott Simley, he just went down pit road last time by.
You're starting to see that wave of cars come in. We'll hold off on looking at our iRacing to midway race break until all of this kind of figures itself out, because if we told you now, it would only be different in about a half a lap. So we'll hang tight for the moment. Everybody coming down pit road. It means only 5 cars left on the lead lap. Aaron Bennett is one of them. Scott Formosa, Simley, and then, of course, Bob Valentine. Bobby Terrell, the 14 machine, is down pit road. So the group up front now. The 14 car, we talked about the time that he lost last time, Kyle, came down pit road almost dead even with Christian Peterson, as far as that's where they were when they made the pit stops. By the time they got out there, Terrell had pitted a little bit later, and Peterson opened up a 2-second gap. Terrell did close that gap down a bit, but he never got back to him. So I'm surprised Terrell again pits later than Peterson by 2 or 3 laps, because that should give the 23 the upper hand. He might have about a 3 or 4 second advantage on him.
I completely agree. And now you look, I mean, he's pitted on lap 70. We're going to lap 134. I don't think he can make this on going all the way to the checkered flag. He's going to have to hit pit road at least one more time. So with him waiting that 5 or 6 or 7 laps, that's put him at a disadvantage to Peterson that's already on track. Not to mention, Aaron Bennett pitted another 5 or 10 laps before Peterson. So he's probably got 10, 15 laps on these guys that decided to stay out and try and push their run a little bit further. So I don't know how this is going to shake out, but it's definitely going to be interesting once we get everything scored in the correct spot here.
Well, Bennett is now taking over the race lead in this one, so the short pit playing out for the 3 car. Again, that's what I thought we might have seen at a Terrell this go-around. The 80 of Scott Formosa is our driver who's going for the 2-stopper, we think. Went a long time, lap 50. In fact, furthermore, that a third of the way into this race that he would have needed to be able to do a 2-stopper in this race. Lap car, the 4 truck of Bob Gillenwater, a little bit nicer tires. He'll go to the inside, and Formosa recognized that, really didn't want to waste his efforts fighting with him. Moves up top, and the 4 Chevrolet will complete that pass this time down into the corner. But Walker's going to be coming up with the fresh tires. Christian Peterson under the 23 machine. He is the one you really got to be watching on the fresh tires, it should have said, in the 23 machine. 4 seconds off of Bennett. I think the 23 is at a good spot to catch him, but if Terrell couldn't catch Peterson, is Peterson going to be able to catch Bennett? They were pretty much, I mean, you look at the distance now, that's about what it was, but inverted before Bennett pitted. So if he can make this work in that short pit, I think it's going to be really a race to see who could be the first one on pit road for the last time.
Yeah, I would agree. I think these guys are really just sizing each other up at this point. Everybody's trying to do something different, trying to get that competitive edge. We know Peterson's led all but a few laps here tonight, so they got to be watching him. They got to be seeing what he's doing. But at the same time, if you're not passing the guy on the racing surface, you're not making that move under green flag conditions. You've got to make some sort of audible to try and make up ground on pit road. And somebody like Aaron Bennett has already done that tonight. He's short pitted about 10 laps before Peterson. He comes across the line. He's going to run a 33.94. Meanwhile, Peterson pitted a little bit later. He runs a 33.50. So while Bennett may have a large gap now, it's going to be interesting to see when he comes down the next time as the gap closes. I mean, he may have played it right, but there's just so many different strategies right now. It just blows my mind.
And it's a kind of a waiting game at this point. Everything is cycled through to a good point again. A lot of the positions on track may come with asterisks next to them. Formosa on the older tires is going to be caught by Walker. And the 68 of Simley not all that far back. Keep thinking that 98 machine right there of Steve Herring is the 68 of Simley. It is not. Steve Herring is 1 lap down at the moment. So keep in mind that black and yellow truck not for position, but that move by from Jamie Walker is. So he'll take over 3rd. Formosa falls to 4th. Not a big concern.
Yeah, not at all. Formosa's just going to pass him pretty gently. If you're Formosa right now, you're just trying to save your stuff. You're already committed to the 2-stop strategy. There's pretty much no way around it at this point. I mean, if you go and you make an extra 2 stops here at the end, you're just really shooting yourself in the foot, unfortunately. So he's laid his bed. He's going to have to deal with it, and making it harder on these guys to pass you is only going to hurt you later on when you get off sequence of them and you have the new rubber compared to their own. So I think he's playing it right, just falling back, biding his time, and then coming down pit road here in just a little bit. But meanwhile, Peterson still closing that gap a little bit on Bennett. He's got it down to 2.8 seconds now, but Walker and Simley's also catching up to Walker here, as we may have a battle for 3rd once Simley gets past Formosa.
Yeah, I think you definitely might see that as Formosa there in the 80 machine, dropping it back. And again, he's not all that concerned about this. It's his whole, in theory, part of the plan. But Simley on the inside of the racetrack wants to get up to Walker. He'll take away fourth. Not sure if he has the lap times to be able to do so. Last time he was half a second quicker than Walker. If you keep up that pace, that 1.4 second difference, as you see all the intervals going across the top of your screen there, that'll evaporate nice and fast for Scott Simley. Again, he is really fighting for bragging rights here. I say this with an asterisk next to it as well. Only one win on the year for Scott Simley. That's still 17 top 10s, a trip to the championship 6, but did not make it into this final round of 3. So the two-time defending series champion looking to spoil the party and make the fight for the title a fight for P2 in this race, if he has something to say about it.
Yeah, and that's all this is for Bennett, for Simley, for Mosa, Maul, none. All these guys want to do, come out of here with a victory. Meanwhile, Peterson, Walker, and Terrell have got to be looking and talking with their spotters, their crew chiefs, and trying to figure out where these other championship contenders are. That's their focus. If you're a championship contender, my only focus is the only 2 drivers that I'm competing against. Aaron Bennett wants to go out here and lead all these laps. Let him have at it, because I'm leading the pack. If I'm Peterson, I'm leading the pack of championship contenders. So I don't know. This is almost like 2 races within a race. You have your championship contenders, and then you have guys like Bennett, Formosa, Simley. They just want to come out here and get a win.
It's all they're hoping for. And again, for the championship, may it come down to the race win in this? Probably. It does tend to do that more times than not as we go side by side for third, and it is Simley with that big advantage on the tires for pitting much later than what we saw out of the 88 camp. Fall back, and Peterson was able to get around him and so on and so forth. So that real short pit call by the 88 not going to work out in this one. And listen, 12-second disadvantage. Why not take a shot in the dark and mix it up? And you got to applaud Jamie Walker for trying something. Without a yellow, though, his hopes at a race win here get narrower and narrower with each lap by. But the reason that all of these best of 3 drivers at the end tends to come down to the race win, it could be the race for 14th. That's all it takes. It's just the best of those 3. They could finish at the back. But after getting through everything that they've gotten through all year, they just tend to be the guys up front winning races. And that's why it tends to come down to a battle for the race win as well.
I completely agree, but, Evan, I'll kind of be devil's advocate for this. You look at these guys. These guys are running with 13 other trucks on the speedway. Aaron Bennett is out to a pretty sizable margin over Peterson, albeit Peterson is closing it in pretty quickly. It's now down less than a second as they cross the start finish line this time. He gained half a second actually that last time by. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like if I'm Peterson, I want to save my stuff and save something for Walker, Terrell at the end. Let Bennett do his own thing. Let him go out there. Let him get the victory if he wants it. I'm worried about the guys behind me for the championship, and that's it.
And maybe that's a good way for somebody to kind of get coaxed into overdriving per se, if they get caught out by Aaron Bennett in that number 3 truck to, maybe run a little bit harder than he needed to. We were talking a lot about Peterson earlier in this race, Kyle, how he was only about a half a second in front, and I noted that, after 30 or so laps, you would think somebody would have more of an advantage than that. Maybe he was taking it easy, being disciplined. He's now trying to battle Aaron Bennett for the race late in this. Would this possibly be Bennett, just by nature of being there, kind of putting Peterson in a position where he gets a little bit greedy and wants to pass him when he doesn't necessarily have to pass him, because Bobby Terrell is the driver. Jamie Walker, of course, the other 2 championship guys, 4th and 5th, over 5 seconds behind him. So Peterson does not need the race lead right now. He wants it. If he gets the pass, it's no problem, and he'll go to the top spot. But you always run that risk of going side by side with somebody, a calculated risk for the 23 team as Christian Peterson goes back to the race lead at lap 84.
Yeah, Christian just passes him pretty much like he's sitting still, unfortunately for Bennett, as now Bennett gets passed for the lead. What does he do? He dives straight down onto the access road. Going to try and short pit this a little bit, I would say. However, if he pits now, he's going to have a longer run here towards the finish. So depending on when the leaders now come down pit road, he may or may not have hurt himself for the end of the race. We're just going to have to wait and see once he comes off pit road. But again, Peterson does take your race lead. Scott Simley still running in second. Bobby Terrell is running down Simley, but not to the gap that I don't think he'll be able to make the pass before we get to pit stops. And then Walker has fallen back to 4th, and then Greg Mall 5th.
Let's look at the top 5. Now that we have a little bit of a deep breath, let's take this opportunity to run you through the entire field and take a look at our iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the leading online racing simulation developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service. iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks all around the globe. And in the fast-paced world of esports, iRacing is a one-stop shop for online racing with officially sanctioned series by the likes of NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, and so many more. Race leader right now, Christian Peterson, leads at lap number 86. He is also leading in the championship picture. Scott Simley trying to spoil the party, 4.1 seconds back. He's P2. And then you'll find Bobby Terrell, third on track, second in the championship. Fourth on track, Jamie Walker, third in the championship, as actually he comes down pit road. Greg Mall's going to be fifth position, James Dunn sixth. You got Bob Valentine seventh, John Jenkins in eighth position, Steve Harry ninth, and Aaron Bennett rounds out your top 10.
Formosa is now scored in 11th, John Wilco 12th, and then your drivers towards the very back of the field. Got a few laps down, had a few problems in the race. You got Bob Gillenwater still on track, and then you have Dwayne Dunn in 14th, Randy Tesser in 15th, and Chris Cabot in 16th. All three of those last drivers have pretty much fallen out of the race.
We saw there that Jamie Walker came down to the pit lane. He went for the very short pit the last time, so no surprise that with just under 50 laps to go, he is on pit road. You could make it to the end. I don't know if it's going to be a race when he move, but again, at this point, why not? I don't think that you can just sit there and be like, okay, I'll pit with 35 laps to go. I'll lose this race by 12 seconds. So Walker's doing what he's got to do. It's quite the gamble, but it's really the only option on the table besides rolling over.
Absolutely. This is pretty much the only option he has. He had a poor qualifying start that put him behind the 8 ball right from the get-go, and now he's just going to have to roll with the dice that's been given to him. Meanwhile, you still have Peterson and Terrell. They're still out on the speedway on their last set of tires, or their second set for the night, I should say, as we do have, looks like Bennett off of turn 2 gets into the wall. He's stuck up in the outside wall. Very, very slow, still stuck in the wall as he tries to jerk it down, and it looks like he's just going to dive it onto the access road. Extremely hairy situation there for Terrell, as there was 2 lap cars behind Bennett, and that could have been much, much worse.
When Bennett had the fresher tires, he was trying to get around 2 cars, Gillenwater and Simley, and he had the better tires, and I think he got a little bit overconfident. You'll see this on the replay, Kyle. He enters solo. There's no arc into the corner for the 3, and he's really digging, so he gets off of the corner, and you can see that truck get loose and just dart up the hill, very noticeably up into the outside wall. I think Simley did clip him a little bit with the right front of Simley's truck, and we're fortunate that wasn't 2-3 cars into the inside wall. Bennett has brought the truck down pit road. That may be the final coffin in his hopes at fighting for the 2018 championship.
Yeah, I would say that all but wraps up Bennett's race there for him, as he did have to come down pit road immediately, and he's going to come to the attention of his pit crew, and I believe he's still on pit road now, yes, and that pretty much puts him out of the race win. However, he can still go out there and maybe salvage a top 10 if something else happens, but at this point, this far in the season, I don't really know whether or not he cares. But we still do have Peterson. Luckily, he was ahead of everything else that happened in front of him. Meanwhile, Simley and Terrell, like we were talking about just a minute ago, were right behind that action. Simley did get a little bit of right front damage, but I don't think it's enough to cause issue as we go further in the race. And Terrell is completely clean. Luckily, he got through that unscathed.
Fortunate for the 14 machine of Terrell. He's still in this one, and we've got a battle for second position on our hands. No longer a battle between the second and third cars in this championship picture. It is the spoiler versus Terrell, who really needs to get around him. And that 68 machine assembly didn't put up much of a fight, Kyle. I was curious if they went side by side, if that desperation in Terrell needs to get around him. Simley doesn't have to hold him off. Again, the 68's going for the win or nothing else. That 14 needs to go. So I was curious how desperate we would see the 14 to Terrell get. He was not that desperate at all, as your race leader Christian Peterson is on pit road. Lap number 93. It'll be a 40-lap run to the end of this race for him as he comes in for the third and presumably final time.
Yeah, now if I'm Bobby Terrell, I've just seen Christian Peterson come down pit road. I know what happened the last 2 times that they came down late as a team. I'm gonna come down immediately. I'm not waiting any longer. But Terrell does stay out a little bit longer. Simley did give him the leeway to get on around him, and Terrell does have a clean track. So we'll see what happens here as he's passing Peterson. Peterson is on the access road down there in turns 1 and 2.
What Terrell's going to have to hope for here is, again, that the fresher tires that he will eventually get here are going to be enough to catch up to the 23 of Peterson, and it's definitely plausible. Better tires, we've seen it done before, but he's 0 for 2 so far tonight on pitting after Peterson and somehow catching him. And again, Terrell may have faith in it. Maybe it's going to be a little bit of a longer run, 40 laps to the end of this race for Christian Peterson, so maybe that'll play a little bit better into the hands of Terrell because you got a little bit longer of a time to kind of milk that tire advantage. But I agree completely with you. I think he should have came in, if not the same lap, right afterwards, and Terrell's still out there now 2 laps later leading this race, albeit, so keep that in mind. Peterson is already pitted. He's a lap down on P8, but will, assuming everything stays calm and everything stays green, would cycle back to the race lead.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at the lap times, I mean, it's over a second advantage from new tires to old tires at this point in the race. So each lap that Terrell stays out there, that's a full second that he's losing on Peterson whenever he decides to come down pit road. So extremely questionable call here. I don't understand it, but you know, it's his race. He's going for the championship, not us up here in the booth. So we'll let him do his thing and see how it shakes out. Meanwhile, looks like Peterson is going to slice and dice his way through these lead cars, and Peterson's going to catch up to Terrell maybe in the next lap and go ahead and get back on the lead lap. So going to be interesting here as Terrell still stays out and doesn't come down pit road again.
He wants to stay out. He wants to lead this race. The 23 of Peterson right there, though, going to catch him, and with the 14 machine and the intervals and looking at numbers weren't real enough. Look at the move to the outside on the fresher tires. Christian Peterson. That's an exclamation point. Not even a pass for position, but sending a message with how he did that.
Yeah, just going around the outside so he could stick his hand out the window and wave goodbye to him as he went on around in turn 2, I guess, because that was a statement. Going around the high side of somebody, even though you're still on new tires, just proving that you can go all the way up to that outside wall, hang it out there, and not have a care in the world. That's sending something. Definitely psychological there from Peterson to Terrell, and just showing how much better or how much faster he is right now. And Terrell's just watching Peterson sail into the sunset, albeit Peterson's still a full lap behind. And Peterson's going to have to catch Terrell, but, I mean, at this pace, Terrell's really probably hurting himself unless he can go far enough where he'll have fresher tires that much better compared to Peterson's now somewhat worn out tires.
The 88 machine coming through as well. That's Jamie Walker from a lap down. Again, the contact into the outside wall forced the BNC Chevy back down to pit road, so I don't think that he's really in this conversation anymore. But Terrell continues to stay out now. This time by, we're going to complete lap number 99, and we will take lap number 100. 35 laps to go at the start-finish line. That's been kind of the bare minimum number on what you want to do on a short run to the end of this race. So we might see him in then, but Terrell currently leads over Simley, Mall, Valentine, and Jenkins through the top 5. Christian Peterson out of the woodwork now, though. After you saw that move on Terrell, he's back on the lead lap, so no longer stuck a lap down if we were to see a yellow.
Yeah, this is going to work out pretty well for all these guys, and I don't think these guys are limited on sets of tires, so if I'm Terrell, Peterson, and, you know, Walker, if I have a caution right here, we're all going to be on the same playing field, and all of us are probably going to come down and get 4 tires, so the caution could still change the complexion of this race entirely. But again, the longer and longer Terrell stays out there, the more and more it's going to hurt him as we get further in this race. As Walker looks to slide up and almost collect Formosa going down into turn 1, that is for position, and a little bit of a hairy situation there for Walker as he's still in this championship hunt. He's not out of it yet.
And not quite clear at the moment. You're looking at a current position more than half of the trucks are off of the lead lap in this race. Do want to update you. Chris Cabot has brought his truck behind the wall. Looks like Dwayne Dunn has brought his truck behind the wall as well. So our first 2 retirees on the evening have parked their trucks and are going to be done for now as we are really in the home stretch. Again, if you're maybe just getting in with us, no yellows so far all night long, and We discussed it as a possibility right off the top. John Jenkins going to be somebody coming in pit road. Greg Wall just now exiting pit road. But we discussed with a 16-truck field for the season finale, this race could very much go green. And here comes Bobby Terrell, his final pit stop with 32 laps to go. He'll give up the race lead, and I'm curious to see what the interval is going to be to Peterson.
Yeah, he's going to have a perfect pit stop right here to limit whatever damage was done by staying out longer. I mean, it's no secret that Peterson was flying compared to Bobby, but here's the thing. Bobby waited quite a long ways. I think it was about 10 or 15 laps. So when he comes out, he's going to have 10 or 15 laps, fresher tires, the rest of the race on Peterson. So if he can keep a pretty solid interval, he may be able to work his way into it a little bit, but we just didn't see that earlier in the race.
We didn't see him doing that earlier in the race, and you get to this point and almost behind the 8 ball, if you will. We'll see Peterson eventually get to the race leader. We're only going to be waiting on Bob Valentine now to come down pit road. Terrell came in, no surprise that it was a 4-tire call for him. He's on the exit of turn 1 on the access road, Kyle. Christian Peterson's entering turn 3. That is a half of a racetrack difference. I don't think 30 laps going to be anywhere near enough to make up that time. Even if you had fresher tires and they didn't degrade at all, I think that's just going to be too far. And now maybe he joins the camp of Bennett of crossing your fingers and hoping for some divine intervention.
Absolutely. Now, what this does do for a driver like Jamie Walker, now this puts him second in the championship standings per where they're running on the speedway and relative to each other. So, you know, maybe if I'm Walker, I'm going to try and go as hard as I can, maybe just salvage a second place in the standings, because if we don't have a caution, I see it going to be a very, very long uphill battle for either Walker or Terrell to be able to catch back up to Peterson, as he's almost half a lap ahead of Terrell and almost a quarter of a lap ahead of Walker.
He's checked out at this point. Valentine, by the way, the number 70 car, we discussed earlier that it's only showing up on the top of the screen as Bob. And Bob Valentine in and out of the pit lane, and I think that just about wraps it up on pit stops from Homestead. He will cycle back through. Peterson to the race lead. Jamie Walker in the number 2 position. And then, of course, you also have Scott Formosa third. Bobby Terrell 14 seconds behind. May very well try to get those 7 seconds to get up to Formosa, to get up to Walker. The most I've seen him catch is 2-3 seconds with the advantage of the fresher tires. I just don't see him getting all the way up front. Simley's back there as well. Somebody else who was kind of kicking around top 3 that has dropped a little bit on that final cycle. A race like this where it goes green and you have, depending on your preference, 2 or 3 pit stops. So at the course of the race really comes down to execution and who came into tonight with a better game plan. I think a little bit more important that is than just raw speed. Peterson's had both, which is why he's in such a good spot.
Yeah, Peterson's just played a smart game when it comes to pit strategy. He's waited till the right time. He's seen where others start pitting, and then he's tried to work his way around it. At the first portion of the race, you know, he was the first one to hit pit road. So it's definitely been an interesting race to where we see different strategies from each and every team. And now, you know, we did have a little bit of a difference in speed on the racetrack, but the gaps themselves are just strictly, absolutely from just pit road cycles and everything else, because Christian Peterson did not have a 13-second gap on Terrell for most of this race. It was just the fact that Terrell waited so long to come down pit road and may have shot his own foot. So if I'm Terrell, if I'm Walker, I'm looking for a caution. I want that caution soon so we can go down, get some tires, and then maybe have a run for 15 or 20 laps here towards the end.
And as we close down to the end of this race, we'll take one more opportunity to step aside and keep it LSRTV non-stop. And when we get back, we'll see if Christian Peterson can lock this one up. He's less than 30 laps away from a championship in the United States Race at BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series. We're working lap 108 of 134 in tonight's BNC and USR Crown of Champion 200. Christian Peterson is trying to hang on the run to the end of the season with the trophy on the line next. You're watching LSRTV. You're home for sim racing. And back live from the Homestead of Miami Speedway, LSRTV's coverage of the 2018 USR BNC Lawn Landscaping Truck Series continuing, and at the same time concluding tonight from Homestead, Florida, as we welcome you back in live at lap 114. Evan Pasoko, Kyle Barnes with you, but Christian Peterson's the name we've been talking about a lot tonight. He hosts now a 9.2 and now an 8.7 second lead over Bobby Terrell. So Kyle, we were discussing before we stepped aside that Bobby Terrell might be able to catch up to the likes of Simley and some of those other drivers there, second and third. He's been able to successfully do so. Christian Peterson, the race leader, though, down to pit road. He's on the flat of the racetrack. He's got a pit.
Okay.
Couldn't tell you why, but he's pitting.
He's pitting. There he goes. I'm not sure whether he realized that he doesn't have enough fuel, which wouldn't make any sense because we just seen Formosa go for 50 laps at the front of the race. Maybe he had to make a pit stop for a penalty earlier and didn't do so. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, he pitted at lap number 93. So to get to the end of the race, you need, what, 41 laps? We've seen cars do 41 laps.
We've seen cars do 50 laps, Evan. I don't know. This is blowing my mind. I don't know whether he's just trying to prove a point or what, but I don't know. I don't see him coming back from this far of a disadvantage at this point. I mean, you look, Terrell's getting ready to pass him and put him a lap down. Terrell only has, what, 20 laps here? Peterson's not going to make up this much of a gap in 20 laps. I don't know. I'm lost.
Did he think Terrell was going to catch him? Because Terrell was able to get those cars second and third. He was up to P2, but he was still about 8 seconds behind. He was about 0.6 faster per lap, but I mean, when you factor in the fall-off, I'm not sure that Terrell was going to catch him. The only thing I could think is Peterson's looking at the times and saying, listen, if I stay here, he's going to catch me. I just didn't see that kind of speed in a 14.
I didn't either. I didn't see Terrell being able to make it all the way to the end. The only other thing that I can think of is maybe when Peterson came down the last pit stop, maybe his crew didn't get all the fuel in his car, or his truck, excuse me. I mean, I don't know. I just don't see a reason for it. I mean, even if Terrell was going to catch Peterson, by pitting early again, or by pitting here at the end of the race, he's screwed, unless now he needs a caution. I mean, the whole premise of Terrell and Walker need a caution has completely been thrown out the window, as now it's Peterson that needs one.
It could be a chance that they didn't get enough fuel on that, because his 41-lap run to the end of this race would have been the longest run that he had done all night long. So in the presets, if he doesn't have somebody on top of the pit box setting fuel numbers for him, and he's only filling up for, you know, that 30 to 35-lap run to the end, if he forgot to adjust that, maybe he didn't get enough fuel when he came in.
That's the only thing I can think of. I really don't know. We'll just have to maybe try and get a word with him at the end of the race to figure it out, but you know, we got less than 20 laps remaining in this race. There's not much time for Peterson to really do anything here with Terrell.
He's 31 seconds behind, just past John Jenkins for 6th position. Again, the only thing that matters here is P1 or bust. Jamie Walker, 8th position. He'll probably end up 3rd out of those championship 3 after having a rough go at it, trying to mix it up a little bit, and ended up at the outside wall about halfway through this race. You need, and maybe he wasn't going to make it on fuel, but at this point, you know, for Peterson, you're going to have to get at least 2 seconds per lap, every single lap, to get Terrell. Last time by, he was a second faster. That's not even anywhere close.
Yeah, that's not going to get him to the lead. Pretty much, this is Terrell's race to lose. If Peterson doesn't get a caution, it's over. You might as well just go ahead and give the championship trophy to Terrell if we don't have a caution period, because Peterson is in no way, shape, or form going to be able to catch Bobby unless something happens. We need a caution. We would need a lap car to get into Bobby. I mean, I don't see anybody even coming close to Terrell right now. It's a walk up in the park for him.
And we're hearing now that it was that issue with fuel that we might have speculated. Apparently, he only had enough fuel to go 33 laps. If we can get a word with him, we'll definitely try to confirm that maybe post-race, but it is sounding like maybe that car was set up to only take on enough fuel to get him 33 laps, which again, every other time tonight would have got him to lap 33, would have got him to lap 66, would have got him to lap number 99, Kyle, which is right about where he pitted in this race. So maybe he forgot to counter in the fact that, hey, that last run's going to be longer, and it sounded like he didn't have enough fuel to get to the end. That is a move, or a mistake, if you will, that'll cost him a championship.
Yeah, if Christian has a crew chief tonight, they're definitely going to be fired by the end of this event. I mean, that's just that mistake right there cost him the championship. Of course, we can confirm this post-race. We'll try and get a word with him, but man, you know, this was his race to lose, and unfortunately, he lost it.
And you look at the seasonal stats for Bobby Terrell, who raced 28 races, Jamie Walker, who raced 29, Christian Peterson missed a couple in the middle of the year. This is his 23rd start on the year, but still 8 wins in 22 starts for him. And to go through all of that, to fight through the playoff rounds, to get here to the Championship 3, to be in position to win it in the Championship 3. And we talked a lot about the self-inflicted errors, Kyle, when he was running up front as your pole sitter. I was really talking about bobbles off of the corner and getting into the fence, but a mistake on pit road there's about as big of a mistake that you could make on your own.
Yeah, and you know, you're heartbroken at this point, and all you can really do is hope for a caution, but I don't foresee one happening here unless somebody just really does a bonehead move or hits the apron or something. I mean, I don't see it. But, I mean, look at the stats for this season. Like you said, 22 starts and 8 wins for Peterson. Jamie Walker, the other driver in this Championship 3, had 29 starts and 6 wins. The only driver in this Championship 3 that didn't have a single win all season is Bobby Terrell. And guess what? He's leading, and there's no one even close to him that's going to have a shot to win unless Simley can just make a late race charge here at the end.
And it would be quite a charge if Scott Simley can play spoiler in this one, but he lost a couple of tenths the last time by. Terrell now inside of 10 laps to go, fighting for what would be for him, again, a first career championship. It all goes back to Jamie Walker, what your Championship 3 tonight, but back in 2015, he won the first ever USR Truck Series title, but it has been all Scott Simley since then, 2016, 2017, and therefore two-time defending champion. Didn't make it to this round of 3, was eliminated a round ago in a round of 6. Here tonight, they maybe possibly try to play spoiler. It does not look like he has the speed late in this race to do so, loses another 10th to Terrell, and Bobby Terrell has been grinding it out year after year, and maybe finally some good fortunes go his way with a mistake by Christian Peterson, who is going to be able to catch Bob Valentine, I believe, get to 4th, but I don't think he'll even be able to crawl onto the podium.
Well, look, let's give some credit to Terrell. He's ran this full season. He had 10 top 5s and 17 top 10s and 28 starts. He was Mr. Consistent. When it comes down to these chase formats, you know, you can say that a win in you're in and you need a win to get to the next round, but for somebody in Terrell's case, he's a perfect example of just run consistent. With chase or not, it doesn't matter. I just need to get there to that championship race, do my best, try and get some good pit strategy in, and he's played the strategy to perfection. Albeit Christian did have a mistake, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Bobby didn't. Bobby ran the perfect race. If he has enough fuel here to make it to the end, he deserves this championship just as much as any of these drivers.
And it comes down to that. A champion is somebody who's is able to handle that pressure when the moment matters the most, I should say, and to not succumb to that pressure. That's not typically something that you would relate to Christian Peterson with, but if it does end up being that mistake, it is going to be a tough one for the 23 to swallow. Kudos, though, if that's true, he's still out there, didn't just park the race car, because he'll end up beating out Jamie Walker for 2nd overall in the championship, but in 2 laps from now, we'll be with inside of 5 laps to go. At that point, no yellow flag would come out that would allow us to restart this race, and that's the next milestone Terrell is looking for, his next time by, where he'll take 5 to go.
Yeah, once he gets 5 to go, this is all but over. Terrell really could just coast it once he gets on the backstretch on the white flag lap. So really, he doesn't even have to make it all the way to the checkered. He's just got to make it, I don't know, maybe down into turn 3 and coast it from there, because I mean, this is his championship. This is his night. Perfect execution all night long. Perfect pit stops. No penalties. Nothing that really caused him the race here. You know, and that's the thing that separated himself and Christian. And, you know, Simley also ran a great race. Different strategy than everybody else. And how about Greg Mall? We didn't really even see him coming there at the beginning of the event. He was kind of a sleeper, but it looks like he may even walk out here with a podium finish.
It would be a great result for Greg Mall if he would be able to do so. Not a driver who has cracked the top 10 on the overall points, but has found a victory lane this year. Took up a checkered flag earlier on in the season from the Charlotte Motor Speedway on another one of those 1.5-mile racetracks. So it's not all but a wash for the driver of the 12 Chevrolet on 2018. Terrell starting to deal with some lapped cars that he wants to, I'm sure, just get around as soon as possible. Just get out of the way. Tell them to go on by. Bob Gillenwater and Jamie Walker, ironically enough, one of his championship counterparts that are fresher tires catching up. If I'm Terrell, I let him go. I've got 4 seconds to work with to Simley. That gap has only been growing. No need to fight those cars coming up quick.
Yeah, if I'm Terrell, I'm getting down to the apron, or I'm getting up against the outside wall, and I'm waving them by as fast as I can. Get on by me. I'm out of your way. Don't hit me. Don't touch me. Just go by and go do whatever it is you want to do, because I'm running for a championship. These positions, these spots right here do not matter to me. I'm ahead of Scott Simley. I'm ahead of Greg Mall. This is my race to lose, and I wouldn't want Gillenwater or Walker to cost it for him. Just let him go.
We'll see for the number 14 Machida Terrell up on the outside of the racetrack. You see the 4 Gillenwater maybe a little bit timid, if you will, of getting up to him. The 80 Walker's been able to get in front. And if you're these guys, of course, you don't want to make any sort of a mistake. You hold your breath if you go side by side with somebody like a Bobby Terrell. The last thing you would want to happen is some sort of unintended error. And maybe with 2 laps left to go now, they're just going to stay behind him and play it safe.
Yeah, I would say so. Walker and Terrell, Peterson, all these drivers in this USR League have done a fantastic job all season of really racing with respect and you know, giving some courtesy to every single driver out here on the speedway. So I would expect nothing less as we see Bobby Terrell coming off and taking the white flag on hopefully a championship run for him in the 2018 season.
Been a great season for Terrell. What did we say at the start of the night? Christian Peterson 8 wins. Jamie Walker 6 wins. Wouldn't it be something if Bobby Terrell came in and on his 29th start of the year got his first win, and that win would secure him a championship? Well, he's a half a lap away from doing it. The number 14 Boston Chevrolet all on his own down the back straightaway. Closest championship counterpart is 22 seconds behind him, and Bobby Terrell going to get his first win of 2018, but it is also going to win him the 2018 championship. Bobby Terrell takes the title with a clutch win at Homestead.
Terrell walks away with a fantastic race. Perfect execution all the way around. Meanwhile, heartbreak in the 23 truck camp. He's going to come off of turn 4. He's going to take the checkered flag, but you know that man has to hold his head low as he knows what got away from him. That was possibly his race to win, and a simple mistake on pit road cost it.
And it's going to be the defining thing that maybe Christian Peterson has to look back on, and you have to wonder what if. It's pretty easy to look back before he made that pit stop that this race was his, and he's not even, again, going to have an opportunity to make it on the podium, but this one still second overall. A great season, second to most wins, second to most top 5s, second to most top 10s. But I'm sure Christian Peterson would have liked to have a number 1 mixed in that conversation somewhere, and he'll end up bridesmaid in just about all of the major categories after still, again, a fantastic season. And Bobby Terrell celebrating a long season. He was so close so many times at a point, Kyle, 10 top 5s right there, 10 times this year. And finally, maybe he gets a little bit of that better luck when it all comes down to it, because Bobby Terrell is celebrating. He is your 2018 United Sim Racing PNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series champion.
I'm driving the number 20 JGR Toyota Xfinity car this weekend. Really great opportunity here at New Hampshire at my home track. Over the past 2 weeks, I've been on iRacing, practicing a little bit here and there with the modified and the NASCAR Xfinity car, so it's been a lot of fun. It's been a great tool for me to kind of get used to that stock car body again and be prepared for the race today. Well, yeah, it's a mile long, so the draft kind of plays into effect here with the modifieds. Punches a big hole in the air, and we run restrictor plates. So it makes a big difference. Just really fast, and it's our Daytona. So that's what's great about it, and we have a fast car for tomorrow. I think the biggest thing is they're heavier cars. The tire's a lot different, and the way you go about setting them up is a lot different. They use all 4 tires more than a modified, where we typically drive off the right rear, you know, so. Well, actually, it's funny. I raced NASCAR race in 2003 before iRacing came about. And then when iRacing came about, my friend Kevin Iannarelli, who works at iRacing, kind of told me, hey man, you need to switch over to this. And when I did, I was like, oh my God, this is like real life. So I started using it as a tool of mine to really prepare for modified races, whether it was Stafford or Thompson or Loudon, Bristol. And then obviously the Xfinity Series last year, going to road courses, trying to get laps, and use it as a tool that can get me as prepared as I could be without actually doing it. So it's been great.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSRTV, and it may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Live Sim Racing LLC and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. LSRTV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. And welcome back live to the Homestead Miami Speedway, where we cap off the 2018 USR BNC Lotto Landscaping Truck Series campaign with a late race plot twist in the winner-take-all season finale of the Championship 3. It looked like it was all going to be Christian Peterson, and as you saw, a mistake on the pit stops may have taken that away from him. We'll get post-race reaction with the top 3 in just a minute. Before we do, let's take a look top to bottom at tonight's LSRTV full race results for the 30th out of 30 races of the season. Bobby Terrell gets his first win of the year. It also locks up his first career USR Truck Series Championship. He will be with us on the championship stage in just a little bit. Scott Simley ends up at a P2, defending series champ. Not an opportunity to take 3 in a row here tonight, but still a good result and a great season for the driver of the 68 car. Greg Ball ends up in 3rd. Christian Peterson's 4th is going to end up 2nd in the points. And then Bob Valentine rounded out your top 5. John Jenkins going to be number 6 tonight at the end of it all. Final truck that finished this contest with no yellows all the way through in the lead lap is 7th position. 1 lap down, Jamie Walker 3rd in the points with a P8 result tonight. Scott Formosa is 9th, and Steve Herring rounds out your top 10.
Then, of course, the drivers outside the top 10. John Wilco came home in 11th, Bob Gillenwater 12th, and then the drivers who did not make it to the end, unfortunately, were Aaron Bennett 13th, Dwayne Dunn 14th, Randy Tessar 15th, and Chris Cabot in 16th position.
Look top to bottom at your LSRTV full race results. Let's get word with the driver of the number 88 machine. It's going to be an 8th place finish tonight, and it is going to be a 3rd overall in the championship. Jamie Walker gets 3rd in the 2018 points. We're down with the driver of the 88 machine. Jamie, congratulations on a great year. I know that coming into this round of 3, 3rd is not the number that you were looking for, but in hindsight, you guys had a fantastic 2018 campaign, so congratulations on that. Just talk us through the night, what strategy you were going for, and maybe where it fell apart there at that middle portion of the race that keeps you a little bit too far out of reach there by the end to fight for the win.
It all fell apart right at the beginning. I was having pedal issues all race long. Had a brake pedal problem that would stick going down the straightaways, and I just couldn't get the speed that they were at. So my hat's off to Bobby and them guys, man. They did a heck of a job all season long. I mean, one win, and this is the one he's got to do it in. So congratulations to him.
It was a very timely performance for sure for you guys. The final numbers, 6 wins on the season as well. You're going to end up 16 top 5s, 25 top 10s. That top 10 number is going to be the best out of anybody in this series. So it was a model of consistency for you guys, enough to get you into the playoffs, enough to get you all the way here to the round of 3. And again, the top 10 result here tonight, I think under any other circumstances would be a welcome result. Just talk about how you guys were able to be there, knock it on the door, and have a relatively fast truck every single week, it seemed.
Well, my teammates and everybody down at Young Guns Motorsports, they do a lot of work throughout the week. I'm not able to run a lot throughout the week in practice, and they give me all the tips and tricks, and ended up putting it to good use during race day.
You look back on this race, you had the pedal issues, and sometimes untimely, bugs and things tend to come to mess with you. Did you feel like coming into this race, though, that you guys would have been able to go head-to-head with Christian and Bobby and fight for a championship? I know you've been here before in this series. Look at all the way back to 2015. There was a day and age where nobody could touch that 88 machine, and I know that we've seen a couple of new faces come in and mix things up, but you guys continue to be so good over not only a week by week thing, but a year by year basis. And how'd you kind of feel like you stacked up against these guys tonight and all year?
Truthfully, I'm proud of myself. I mean, some of these guys have got a lot more experience at this than I do, and for me to hang out with them guys and be able to run with them and stay in front of them and actually beat them sometimes, it's satisfying towards me.
You look back on the year, and today you're proud with the result. What would be the biggest takeaway, the one thing that you're most proud of your performance over the last 6 or so months?
I don't think it's so much my performance, it's our team performance. We've done an awesome job. I mean, I think altogether, maybe 10 wins total, and then Talladega 1, 2, 3 finish, out in front of everybody. So that was pretty cool.
Well, I know that it has been a long year, and it was a pretty long race tonight, not having really any opportunities to stretch the arms out besides that, 12 seconds or whatever you spent down in the box because we went caution-free. So we'll let you take off, Jamie. Before we do, though, the sponsors and the shout-outs, all of those good folks, who do you want to say hi to and thanks to for a good year?
I got to say thank you to you guys. You guys do an awesome job all year round. Got to thank my wife. She allows me to do this, even though she doesn't like to let me do this, but she allows me to do it. And all the Mountain Dew fans, BNC Lawn and Landscaping crew, y'all did a great job this season. My hat's off to you.
We've borrowed you numerous times over the course of the year, Jamie, with all of those good finishes. So we want to say thanks to you as well for giving us your time, as well as hanging out a little bit later here tonight to chat with us as well. Again, congratulations on a great year, and hopefully we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you. I hope to see you soon too.
8th place finisher for the Homestead of Miami Speedway, 3rd overall in the 2018 championship standings. That is Jamie Walker, who comes home 3rd in the 2018 United Sim Racing BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series. It was a very different story for the driver of the 23 of Christian Peterson, maybe 30 laps away, Kyle, even less than that, 20 laps away from a series best 9th win on the year, a first championship, and then it all fell apart. Your trackside with our P4 finisher, second in the points on 2018 for Christian Peterson.
Yeah, Evan, I'm down here with more than likely a very disheartened Christian Peterson. 20 laps to go, Christian Peterson. You hit pit road. What happened there? You look to have a really strong lead. We thought maybe you could run away from Terrell, even though you had the older tires compared to when he pitted. What happened there at the end of the race?
Yeah, we just weren't gonna make it. We were like 3 laps short. I don't know. I'm pretty bad at saving gas, but yeah, you're pretty right. I was pretty upset, but I mean, hats off to Bobby. He did a good job, and he got the right strategy on the right race, and got the first one under his belt for the win, and then took it when he needed to. So he did a really good job. So yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm just not good at saving gas, and just got to try to get better at that.
Well, looking at the pit window, Christian, your pit window was roughly 45 to 52 laps from what we've seen. Scott Formosa, for example, he went on a 2 pit stop strategy there. Was it a situation where you came down on that last pit stop and maybe the crew just didn't put enough fuel in it?
I mean, I don't think so. I couldn't go nearly that many laps. So that's why I broke that last one up. I probably should have committed earlier in the race and tried to pit, but at that point I kind of knew I was just gonna be fighting for second if Bobby was gonna be as fast as he was, and being able to do like 2 more laps or 3 more laps. I think he did 2 more laps on the first stop, and then maybe a lap on the second one. It might have been even 2, so I'm not sure, maybe even 3. It was just, I felt like I was losing ground the whole time, and that's probably a problem as well, just getting in that bad mindset. But just got to figure out how to get better fuel mileage and go just as fast. So.
Well, even though tonight was very disheartening, and fuel strategy decided the championship, and obviously there's some frustration in your voice. You look back at your season here at USR. You had 22 starts. You had the fewest starts of anybody in the top 5 in points. But you had 8 wins, 17 top 5s, and you had the second most top 10s at 22. So every single start you made, you finished inside the top 10. Just talk us through your season as a whole, reflecting back on every single race you entered.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I felt like we came in with a bang, and then got one there at Martinsville at the end, and then finished. I don't know. We finished, like you said, top 10 pretty much every time. So. Yeah, just consistency and like I said, coming out with a bang. I think I won like 4 races in a row or 3 or something right at the beginning. So, and then the other ones were kind of spread out, something like that. So I think that helped, and yeah, I carried that, and got a little lucky with Seth getting thrown out with the 20-point penalty a couple weeks ago, and but I was glad to be here at Homestead. So.
Well, Christian, you definitely put on a show this entire season when you showed up, and you put on a show here tonight. And, even though you came home in second, runner-up in the championship, there's got to be some people you want to thank and give some shout-outs to before we head off tonight. Yeah,
just everybody at Vincier, 6-man, all those guys, like always, and then just everybody who shows up and participates every week in USR and the BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series. It was a lot of fun. I know I didn't race all the races, but felt like some of the guys up front, we raced pretty hard and pretty clean, so that was a lot of fun. And then just my parents at home, I know they watched, and everybody else who supported the 23 machine.
Well, that's Christian Peterson, driver of the number 23 Peterson Irrigation Chevrolet. Evan, I believe you may have caught up with Bobby Terrell, our championship winner, down there on pit road.
And it's a kind of a storybook ending for the driver of the number 14 machine. Bobby Terrell is your race winner from the Homestead Miami Speedway, and therefore Bobby Terrell is your 2018 United Sim Racing BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series champion. Bobby, congratulations on the win, on the title. How you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling good now. Now that it's over with. I mean, it's kind of crazy to just win the last race. I mean, I was second a few times or several times, and just trying to get that win to to show that I am a player, that I can be there at the end. But it feels good to win the last race and to win the championship. I mean, I'm ecstatic. I mean, it's unreal.
Tell us about this race. We even alluded to it at the start. You're going up against the guy that's got 8 wins, the guy that's got 6 wins. It would make quite a story if you can get the win out of this one. And unfortunately, issues with Jamie earlier on. Talking to him, said he had some issues with the pedals, and it got him a little bit behind the 8 ball. He dropped out of this thing, but it looked like you and Christian Peterson going head-to-head on multiple times. You were right near each other on that first cycle of pit stops, within a second of each other on that second and third trip down to the pit lane. It looked like you two were pretty even. Just tell us about how you were strategizing on your pit stops, and was it only looking at him, or were you concerned about anybody else? I would imagine the only driver you were looking at was the 23.
Yeah, I mean, I was only looking at I was looking at Jamie too, but I didn't know where he was at. I know he qualified bad, but you can't ever count Jamie out, so I don't really know what took place there. And I was really pacing myself and saving fuel, and I knew that I needed to run a certain laps twice, and then I could run like I wanted to on the last 2, and that's kind of what I did. That was my goal, was just to save some fuel the first 2 runs to get to that window that I knew I needed, and then that last run I just took off and run it like I wanted to run it, and it worked out. I mean, when I seen Christian pit on lap 32, and I thought, well, he's pitting awful early, and then I figured he would try to save, the later runs or whatever. And I mean, like I said, I was pacing off him, and I was able to save fuel and stay close to him, and I knew with him pitting early that I might have a shot. And then when I seen him pit early, and then I seen him pit early again, and then I didn't know what he was going to do after that. I figured he was going to be about 10 laps short. So by the time it all worked out, though. But I'm just glad to put her in victory lane finally.
Well, we had seen some drivers really stretch the fuel out over 40 laps on the first run, mixing it up a bit. Obviously, a lot of fuel saving in order to do so. So we as well were kind of questioning when Christian pitted very early the first 2 times. Obviously, he's going to have to make a longer run to the end, but we didn't think that he would have been as many laps short as he was. So for you guys to be able to take relatively the same strategy, the same number of stops and all that, but to be able to hit the right number, how close was it on fuel, and how much was that a factor in when you pitted versus, you see him pit, and the instinct would be you want to follow him down pit road, where you kind of looking at the fuel number saying, okay, I'll wait, make sure I don't get kind of coaxed into falling into that short window like he was?
Yeah, I mean, like when I don't know if you've seen, he made a little mistake there, and I got to racing with him a little bit, and I kind of seen that if I start racing like that, I'm not going to be able to make that first run. So I backed out of it and just started following him, and just like I said, I knew my pit windows and what I had to do, and I figured it out. And then, like I said, that last run I did 32 or 33 lap run or whatever, and I had a half a gallon left, so I was good for another lap and a half or so. But I was running it. I mean, I ran really, really hard that last stop. I don't see how anybody made it 40 laps, but like I said, I was stretching, to go 34 or 35.
You get the win that you've been looking for all year, and it comes in the last race, and it makes for the theatrics to be a little bit more exciting. But besides the fact that you didn't get a win up until tonight, doesn't mean that you guys didn't have a great year. Obviously, qualifying in to this championship 3, but I mean, you look at your numbers: 10 top 5, 17 top 10s. And I'm sure you got to be proud of the effort that you guys put in, not just tonight, but all year to get to this point, to be able to capitalize on the opportunity.
Oh yes, I mean, I won. I won the championship. I mean, I didn't win as many races as I would have liked to have won, to win. But I ran well at the end of the season. I was putting myself in good positions to try to make it, to the last race, and that was what I did. And then that was, like I said, I had to really be on my game those last, 12 races or whatever it was. So. And that's when it counted. I mean, I was trying to win all year, but just those last, several races, the last 4, last 6, I was just trying to put myself in good positions, not make any mistakes, and I ran fairly clean to the end. I didn't win like I wanted to, but hey, I won the last one, and that's what counted.
Aside from the championship, and the answer can kind of relate into this, ask the same thing with Jamie as well. What's the one thing this year, maybe one specific race you feel like that kept you in it, or being able to get this win at the end of it all? What's the one thing that you'll look back on the year as the thing that you're most proud of?
I'm gonna say this race. I mean, I've always run good at Homestead. I said to myself, if I could make it to the final race at Homestead, that I would have a chance. And so it would have to be this race because I won it. I won the championship, and that means a lot to me to win this championship in USR.
Well, we always ask this, and this is a tradition that goes back for quite some time. Anytime we crown a champion on LSRTV air, we have to ask the question. So, Bobby, in true championship fashion, the hard-hitting question of the night is, what is your favorite sandwich?
My favorite sandwich?
I don't know how it started, but that's the question.
I would say a chicken sandwich.
A solid choice, Bobby. Before we let you take off, sponsors and shout-outs and all of those good folks, who do you want to say hi to? Who do you want to thank for making 2018 such a success for you?
Well, I would like to thank you guys, first of all, for doing it. LSRTV for doing this whole series. I know it's long and running the races, and I have to thank Aaron Bennett and all the admins over at United Sim Racing. I mean, great group of guys. It's been fun. They treat everybody fair, and the sponsorship of BNC Lawn Care for landscaping, for lawn and landscaping, for jumping on board and being a sponsor and sponsoring the series. That's great. And then I have to thank my teammate, Scott Simley and Randy, and I would like to thank all the competitors for the clean racing us clean. There's a lot of guys out there I respect, and just, to be able to pull this off, especially as I'm getting older, it really means a lot. And also my wife for, putting up with this. She knows I love racing, and, she puts up with it. The sacrifice for 30 weeks or whatever it was. And thanks a lot.
We appreciate your time, Bobby, giving us an opportunity to chat with you post-race, over the course of the weeks and whatnot, and we appreciate your time now. So we'll let you get off and celebrate. I know Chick-fil-A's closed tomorrow, but if that's not your chicken sandwich of choice, go out there and treat yourself tomorrow. Congratulations on the championship, and hopefully we'll be able to catch up with you soon.
Well, you hit it. Chick-fil-A it is.
The way to do it. That's your 2018 United Sim Racing BNC Lawn and Landscaping Champion, Bobby Terrell, who gets win number 1 on the season. And it comes, Kyle, at the most important time on the year as he locks up the points here for this one, outlasting Peterson and Walker to take home the 2018 title.
Absolutely, Evan. We hit on it at the beginning of the broadcast. We said he's not won a race all season. It's going to be an uphill battle probably for tonight. If he wants a championship, he's going to have to walk away with the win, and that's exactly what he did. Perfect execution on pit road, perfect execution on the racetrack. Nothing better than what he did tonight. He's going to walk away our 2018 USR BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series champion.
And of course, we talked about mistakes and clutch performances, and you mentioned, mistake-free on pit road. That's going to end up being the thing that haunts Christian Peterson, saying that, he was just cutting it a little bit too short. Not necessarily an issue, not fueling up enough, but just didn't allow himself enough time to the end there to balance the pace and to be able to get to the end of this race on fuel. And you go back to all those times when Christian Peterson pitted and we're yelling at Bobby Terrell to come down pit road. Looks like the 14 machine knows a thing or two compared to us.
That's true. I still am trying to figure out where I believe it was the 80 truck went 50 laps at the beginning of the race, because I just went back to check and he didn't pit early. So I don't know whether he had an extra fuel tank in the rear or what was going on, but he knew something that the rest of the guys didn't. Unfortunately for him, he couldn't walk away with the victory, and unfortunately for everybody else, like Christian and Jamie. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough for them to walk away with the championship.
And I'm going to echo the thoughts as well that Bobby Terrell said. A big thanks to BNC Lawn and Landscaping for being the title sponsor of this series. Coverage has always been brought to you by BNC. Our mission is to deliver premium landscapes to commercial and residential properties, and we are located in southern Delaware, providing services to the Sussex County region. If you have any landscaping needs, make sure you guys give them a call at 302-381-6073. So big thanks to BNC, Aaron Bennett, everybody else at USR, Kyle, for a great season, and for a race that would have gone green all the way. It did go green all the way, and those can tend to be a little bit dry. There was plenty of strategy and just one nice little plot twist at the end to mix things up as we close out the season.
Absolutely. Fantastic race by everybody. Caution free. Can't beat that. Congrats, Bobby, on the championship, and we look forward to the next season.
That'll do it for us here from the Homestead Miami Speedway. The United Sim Racing to BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series is done for now. But if you want to get involved with anything United Sim Racing aside from just the trucks, you can find them by searching United Sim Racing over on Facebook. And that'll do it for us this week as well on LSRTV and iRacing Live. You can go to our website, though, www.livesimracing.com for more information and including a look at our extended broadcast schedule. Best way to keep up to date with us, so follow us on social media with a like on Facebook. That's facebook.com/LSRTV official, and by following us on Twitter at LSRTV. On behalf of the entire team at Live Sim Racing LLC, for DJ Lyon, Laura Lawson, the entire crew behind the scenes, people who make it happen night in and night out, and of course for your team tonight. For myself, Evan Pasoko, for Kyle Barnes, and for our executive producer Cisco Scaramuza, we want to thank you for joining us not only tonight but all season long, and congratulate Bobby Terrell. He is the 2018 United Sim Racing Truck Series champion. So as we say good night from the Homestead Miami Speedway, we'll catch you next time for the USR on LSR TV, your home for sim racing.